You grab your keys from the bowl, and the sound alone changes something in the room. Your dog rises from the corner, ears shifting forward, tracking the metallic jingle like a sonar ping. You tell yourself she will settle back down once the door clicks shut. That is the story most owners believe. But here is what the behavioral data actually shows. Within minutes of your departure, often within the first 15, her body enters a different state entirely. The Blue Cross, a UK-based animal welfare charity, documents that the most intense period of distress for many dogs happens right at the start, not hours later, not gradually, but immediately after the lock turns. The ASPCA confirms this pattern: barking, pacing, sometimes destruction, all triggered within a short window after the guardian leaves. You see a nap. Neuroscience sees a cortisol spike. In a 2016 study published in PLOS One, researchers led by Ilona Schuberl measured stress hormones in dogs during owner absence. They found that cortisol levels rose significantly in some individuals during separation. The dog was not relaxing. The dog was in a state of heightened physiological arousal, a kind of low-grade alarm that lasts longer than the visible symptoms suggest. This is the first crack in the familiar story. You think your dog is waiting, but waiting implies patience, a passive endurance. The evidence suggests something closer to vigilance, an active scanning of the environment for signs of your return or for threats that might arrive in your absence. Consider what happens in the olfactory world your dog occupies. While you are at work, the scent molecules you left behind are decaying at a known rate. Your dog's nose can detect the concentration gradient of your smell as it fades across the house. She is not just missing you, she is reading the chemistry of your absence like a clock, monitoring how much of you remains in the air. In 2022, a study in Scientific Reports by Parth and colleagues filmed dogs alone at home. They observed that many dogs spent time resting near departure points: the door, the window, the gate. But resting is not sleeping. The dogs were positioned to monitor the threshold, their ears oriented toward the outside world, their bodies in a state of readiness that looks like calm, but functions as Sentinel Duty. Pause on that image for a moment. Your dog is not lounging, she is on post. If you want to keep decoding the secret Sentinel language your pet speaks every single day, subscribe now so you catch the next layer of this investigation. And in the comments, drop one word that captures what you just learned: Sentinel. Here is where the paradox deepens. The same study found that some dogs showed pacing, vocalization, or proximity to the departure area. But here is the part that flips the script. The dogs that seemed calm, lying still, eyes closed, sometimes had cortisol levels just as high as the ones that barked. The quiet dog is not necessarily the peaceful dog. The quiet dog may be frozen, waiting for a signal that does not arrive. This is the first hidden layer. The behavior you observe, lying down, tail curled, eyes shut, may be a coping strategy, not a sign of comfort. Now we need to look deeper into the evolutionary machinery that drives this response. Because your dog did not evolve in a living room with a chew toy. She evolved in a pack structure where separation from the group meant vulnerability to predators, loss of access to food, and a breakdown of the social information network that wolves depend on. In 2004, Paget and Dancer published a clinical review in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior that framed separation anxiety as a panic response to the sudden removal of social support. The dog is not upset because she loves you in the human sense. She is upset because your absence disrupts her predictive model of safety. Think about that for a moment. Your dog has built an internal map of the world where your presence is the anchor point. When you leave, that map loses its reference coordinate. The distress is not nostalgia. It is a navigation failure. The RSPCA lists the most common signs of separation-related behavior: destructive acts, howling, barking, toileting, and excessive excitement on return. But those are the loud signals. The quiet signs, panting, salivation, trembling, repetitive licking, are often missed. Your dog may be showing distress in a frequency you do not notice. In a seminal study from 1997, Bearda and colleagues measured stress responses in dogs and found that physiological changes often preceded any visible behavioral sign. The body reacts before the behavior reveals itself, Your dog may be in a state of internal alarm long before she whines at the door. This is the second layer, the visible story. The wagging tail, the excited jump when you return, does not match the internal story. The cortisol spike, the elevated heart rate, the scanning of the olfactory environment. These happen beneath the surface, invisible to the human eye that was never designed to read canine stress signals. That gap between what you see and what is true is exactly the kind of territory this channel maps. Subscribe to join the small group of people who refuse to stop at the surface, who want to see the invisible signals your dog is broadcasting every minute. And tell us in the comments, what invisible signal have you noticed in your own dog that you previously dismissed? But wait, let me clarify something. Not all dogs experience this with the same intensity. The distress response exists on a spectrum. Some dogs genuinely rest. Some dogs settle after the initial minutes. The Blue Cross notes that the worst period is often the first 15 minutes, after which some dogs transition to a lower arousal state. But lower arousal is not peace. It is exhaustion from sustained hypervigilance. Here is where it gets strange. VCA Hospitals, a network of veterinary specialists, recommends a technique called graduated departure. You leave for short periods, return before the stress peaks, and slowly extend the absence. The goal is to teach the dog that your departure does not mean permanent disappearance. You are reprogramming the prediction error. But here is the uncomfortable implication. If you need to train your dog to tolerate your absence, what does that say about the default state? The baseline is distress. The training is a patch over an evolutionary mismatch. Think back to the wolf ancestor. The pack does not scatter for 8 hours and reconvene at 6 o'clock. The pack moves together, hunts together, sleeps together. When a wolf is separated, it calls. It searches. It does not settle onto a couch and wait for the alpha to return from a commute. Your dog carries that wiring. The door is not a door. It is a rupture in the social fabric, and your dog's brain treats it as such. In a 2017 follow-up study, Schuberl and her team examined how the owner's behavior influenced the dog's stress response. They found that dogs whose owners gave long, emotional goodbyes showed higher stress levels than dogs whose owners left casually. The ritual of the goodbye, the kneeling, the petting, the soft reassurances, actually amplified the anxiety. You were telling your dog, in a language your dog understood perfectly, something important is about to happen. Something that makes me act differently. Be alert. The RSPCA advises making departures low-key. No fanfare, no emotional speeches. Because the dog reads your emotional state before you leave. If you are anxious, your dog knows. If you are guilty, your dog knows. Your scent chemistry changes with your emotional state, and your dog's nose picks up that change like a barometer shifts before a storm. Here is the core truth, and it may be uncomfortable to hold. Your dog's distress when you leave is not a measure of love. It is a measure of predictive failure. Your dog has a model of the world where you are the constant. When you walk out the door, that model breaks. The anxiety that follows is the brain's attempt to restore predictability, to scan the environment, to call you back, to monitor the threshold until the constant returns. You have been reading your dog's signals wrong. You thought the tail wag at the door was joy at your return. It is relief that the predictor has come back online, that the world makes sense again. The VCA guidelines recommend only 3 to 4 repetitions per day of departure training, not dozens, not constant practice. Because the stress response is real and overexposure can worsen it. You are not teaching a trick. You are gradually rewiring a survival circuit. Now consider the sensory world your dog inhabits while you are gone. She does not see the living room the way you do. Her vision is dichromatic, tuned to movement and contrast, not color. But her olfactory world is a landscape of layered information. The scent of the mail carrier who passed 2 hours ago. The trace of a neighbor's dog that marked the fence last night. The decaying signature of your own skin cells that tells her exactly how long you have been absent. In that world, you never truly leave. You evaporate. Your presence fades molecule by molecule, and your dog tracks that decay the way you track the second hand of a clock. The distress is not about being alone. It is about watching a presence dissolve in real time, and being unable to stop it. This is the moment where everything you thought about missing you gets rewritten. If that shift in perspective matters to you, subscribe now, because we are only beginning to map the sensory universe your pet inhabits, and the next discoveries will change how you see every single gesture she makes. Before you go, write "scent decay" in the comments. That is the phrase that captures what your dog is truly tracking while you are away. The ASPCA states that separation anxiety is one of the most common behavior problems presented for help. One of the most common. That means millions of dogs are living in a state of low-grade chronic stress every day, and their owners are calling it separation anxiety. But the deeper truth is simpler and stranger. Your dog is not anxious because she is alone. Your dog is anxious because she is a social predator, trapped in a body that evolved to never be alone, in a world that demands she be alone for hours every day. Now here is where we arrive at the central answer to the question the title asked. What does your dog do when you leave the house? She monitors the decay of your scent. She patrols the perimeter of your shared territory. She listens for the sound signature of your return, the specific rhythm of your footsteps, the engine note of your car, the jingle of your keys. That means the world is about to lock back into place. She does not sleep. She does not wait. She vigilantly maintains a state of readiness until the anchor returns. The Blue Cross says the first 15 minutes are the worst, but the vigilance does not end there. It attenuates. It becomes background noise, but it never fully switches off until the door opens. So here's the question that remains open. It's the question. If your dog's experience of your absence is fundamentally different from what you assumed, if it is not loneliness, but a breakdown of prediction, not missing, but monitoring, then what else have you misinterpreted about the creature that shares your home? The tail wag at the door, the yawn when you reach for the leash, the stare when you eat, the way she positions herself between you and the door when a stranger approaches. All of these behaviors may be signals in a language you have not learned to read, a language older than speech, written in scent and posture and the geometry of distance. Next time you grab your keys, pause before the door closes. Your dog is already reading the shift in your scent chemistry, the change in your posture, the frequency of your breathing. She knows you are leaving before you reach the handle. And in the silence after the lock clicks, she begins her watch. Not against intruders, but against the one thing her ancient brain cannot process: the absence of the familiar. The question is not whether she misses you. The question is whether you have ever really known what she sees when she looks at you.